Good evening, everybody. We are actually in a log cabin tonight. I told Alan, I'm going to tell everybody that this is our family room because I wish it was. We've got our Christmas tree up. We've got the stockings hanging on the fireplace. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love it. We've even got deer outside the window, which is actually what it looks like outside our window when we have snow. So I thought this was just fitting because tonight we're going to be working with our very, very first 6x6 background stamp that we created for this new collection. But anyway, before I get to that, welcome. It is so, so good to be back. It's been a couple of days and I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing today. It's so good to be sharing this evening with you guys. So we do have a serious evening ahead of us. Maybe, potentially, we'll see how that goes. But we're going to take an hour right now to just craft and relax and forget all about everything else that's going on in the world, and just kind of have some fun and be creative. So hopefully you guys have something to craft along with, whether you're stamping or doing some painting or crocheting, knitting, whatever it is you're doing. I hope you guys just have something that's enjoyable for you guys to do while you're watching me, I guess. Anyway, it was so nice. We were looking at all the names of everybody that's out here. So many familiar names. I love that you guys do this with us every time. And it's so nice to see some new names too. So that's really fun. Oh, and I do want to tell you, I'm going to be doing a little sneak peek, like when we get to the end, a little sneak peek of some of the things that are going to be in our upcoming first kit. But I'm not going to be able to launch it tonight because we didn't get that far. We're still setting things up and getting some things going kind of on the website and stuff. And then we had a couple of I guess, what would you call it? People letting us know some information about, the best times to, timing and stuff like that. When is the best time for a lot of people and, and stuff. So, for a new launch of something. So we want to be, we want to be sensitive to that so that we make sure that that the kit, because it is going to be in very limited quantities, so we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to purchase the kit if they want. So anyway, we are going to jump, or I am going to jump right on in. So I'm going to go ahead and change cameras, and we're going to get started. Alrighty, this is going to be the star of the show tonight. This is, again, I know I say this every time, but it's one of my favorite things. Again. I absolutely love poinsettias, and I think they're absolutely stunning. And, I've got to tell you, when we did the trade show, what was it, in January, my husband was like, oh, you need to see all these zoomed in, images and stuff. And it took me a little while to warm up to them. And but once I did, now that I have, I absolutely love it. You saw me work with our sunflower stencil, and that's a real zoomed in image, real close up. And so this poinsettia is another one, and this is the first that we've done in a 6x6. So it's a full-on background stamp. Oops, I got to turn off the green screen. Let me get that real quick. There we go. So it's a full-on background stamp, which is just gorgeous. And of course, on the back, we give you kind of an idea or a suggestion as to how you can color this up. This is a photopolymer stamp. This is actually going to be the one that we're going to give away tonight. So speaking of giveaway, make sure, leave a comment, give us a hello, ask a question, whatever it is you want to do, but get your name out there. Facebook group page or our YouTube channel. If we don't see you out there, then we don't know you're out there and we can't call your name. So Alan's going to be watching and he's going to be making the selection when we get a little bit further into tonight's show. So here is, oops, I'm just moving everything all around. This one is mine. As you can see, it has been very loved. That's why it's got black on it. And I'm also going to be showing off this Elegant Holiday Wishes 4x6 stamp set. It's a sentiment set that is just gorgeous. I love this set. One of the things that we tried to do with this was bring you a variety of fonts and sizes so that, and shapes to the sentiments, so that no matter where you want to put a sentiment on your card, you're going to be able to find one in here. It's going to fit. We've got much smaller ones here, like This one says, may your holidays be, and then you can combine it with like joyful and cozy, full of smiles, bright and warm. This one says, winter cheer is here. But then we have larger ones like this one here. You can see that I've already used it. It says, wishing you all the love this holiday. Some that are kind of in between, you know, longer sentiments, kind of smaller square sentiments and so on, so that no matter where you want to put it on your card, you're going to have something in here. So I really love that about it. So let me show you everything I've got going on here. I'm actually going to be painting tonight. I haven't done any watercoloring in a while. And when I came up to the studio today, I thought, boy, oh boy, I was just, to be honest with you, very stressed, very tired. And I thought, you know, I want something that's just going to be relaxing. And one of the most relaxing things for me to do in studio is to paint with watercolors. So this is what I've done so far. It's just kind of loose and free form. I don't intend for it to look, you know, like these are real poinsettias, but I just want it to be kind of loose and free form. So here we go. Let me tell you everything I've got here. This is an A2 card base. It means it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's basically a half sheet of letter size paper. I've already got a sentiment that I've stamped over here, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I just have an A2 size of just plain black cardstock. What else do I have here? I'll talk about this in a moment too. All right, let me get set up. I've got my water, my little tulip cup. I love these things. There's my water. Whenever I'm watercoloring, I've always got, you know, just a little towel with me because I like to brush off the excess water and paint there. Let me pull this over here. Oh boy, this is going to be heavy. There we go. I should probably move the water for this. That would be bad, wouldn't it? All these electronics up here. All right, this is what I'm working with tonight. So for those of you that already have your Brush Marker Pro set, maybe you want to craft along with me tonight. This is what they look like on the inside. You can see I pulled a few of them out of here. We do have some of these back in stock. We actually have a couple that I haven't gotten into the store yet, if I'm thinking correctly. Yeah, we have a couple of smaller like starter sets that we haven't gotten into the store yet. But anyway, Brush Marker Pro, this is the large one. It's 72 colors. These are, I'm going to show you a couple of them here in case you haven't seen them. They are watercolor markers. So they are filled with watercolor, with watercolors. So I pulled 4 colors here. I've got Blush, number 172 Blush. I've also got Almond, which is 216. Rose Pink, number 168, and Olive Green, number 281. You don't need a whole ton of colors. I wanted to do some really, really simple and fun layering of the same colors just to see what kind of effect we could get. And then I also have a little piece of, this is just acetate. And that is going to be, actually, maybe I should do something here so you guys can see the colors better. I'm going to cut a little piece of white cardstock. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing better. And if I lay this behind here, then you'll be able to see when I lay the color down. Oops. You'll be able to see when I lay the color down on here what I'm doing. Let's get my water back into position here. Move my computer back a little bit. Sorry. Got to be really careful with that. Let's see. Yeah, I know. Alan's kind of laughing at me because I'm moving everything around, but I have to be able to work. You know what it's like? You know, you have your space and you need to be able to function and move around properly. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And you know what I don't have? Oh, here it is. Now, this watercolor brush that I have, I don't know the number of it, but I think I had it is a round. I think I had a double or triple 0 last time. This one might be a 0 because I wanted the brush to be a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier because I want to get more water down for this one. Now, I've gone ahead and I've stamped this already, and because I didn't want to spend 2 hours watercoloring, I've already colored about 2/3 of it for you. I did do this. Now, this is another thing. Whenever I'm working with the card markers, my favorite watercolor paper is the Artistico. It's how do you even say it? Aquarella. That's one of those things that I can't say very well. Yeah. Artistico Extra White, 100% cotton, cold press, and it is by my favorite watercolor company, Fabriano. Love this. 300 gram, 140 pound. This is wonderful. Cold press means that it's going to have a little bit, it's going to be a little bit bumpy, but it's not going to be extremely bumpy. I don't know if you can see this, but it's not going to be smooth like a hot press. There's going to be a little bit of a bumpiness to it. This particular watercolor paper I have found, and I have a whole ton of watercolor papers, but this one I have found for me works the best with these markers, and that's why I use it. Whenever I am painting, I always have a little scrap piece here with me so that I can test and I can see how colors are going to be moving and how they look together. So let me get this out of the way so I don't get anything on it. So this is what I did before I got started. This one is my rose pink. So I lay a little bit of that down. I lay a little bit of my olive green down. And I'm putting it on the same paper that I'm going to be using for my project. All right, so I lay a little bit of that down. And then I get into the water a bit just so I can see how it's going to be. And this is where that paper or where that towel comes in. Then I just move it a little bit with some water. Number one, I would like to make sure it's going to move nicely on the water. I'm sorry, on the paper. But I also want to see how these colors are going to look together as I start to blend them out. See if I like the color palette. So you could see this one, you can see that line a little bit. It's because I didn't get the water into it fast enough. Okay, but those look really, really pretty together. And then I like to keep this on hand in case I need it. So that's like my little testing thing. So to start off with, I'm going to be applying, the technique I used on this card is a wet to wet. So that basically means that, let me go into the water a bit. Oh, and something else I want to mention too before I forget. One thing you can do, if you look at this, sometimes it's hard to tell when you're looking at an image. It's hard to tell which ones are the leaves and which ones are the flower petals. So that's another reason why we give you the image on the back all colored up so you can see, you know, what is what on here. But to be honest with you, when you look at this, in this illustration, the leaves are actually illustrated very, very much like the flower petals. So if you get it wrong, nobody's going to know, to be honest with you. Oh, I should also mention, I stamped this. I don't know if you can see how shiny it is or not, but I stamped this with our watermark pad, which is, you know, for embossing. And then I used a black embossing powder on it and went ahead and, you know, heat set that and embossed it. So that gives us a beautiful, beautiful kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for, like a little edge or ledge. So if I apply the water into this little area here, all right, I'm going to explain to you what I mean by edge or ledge. So I'm just dropping a fair amount of water in here, and just on this one petal. I'm going to go ahead and get my pink down here. I'm going to leave this open. Actually, I'm just not going to close it, but I'll put it here. I'm going to pick up some of this and I'm going to drop this in. And it is not going to leave the area where I put that water for two reasons. One, it's not going to extend out into the dry area, but that embossed edge that we have there from the stamp line, that kind of creates it almost like it's a little like a ledge so that it won't go outside of it either, which is really, really helpful. Really, really nice. So if you have any questions, make sure you get those up to Alan. I'm going to go ahead and turn this in the direction that I want this to be. I think I want it, which way is it going to go? I think it goes this way. This is going to help me. I'm going to keep this here just so I make sure and get the color into the right places. I'm not sure I have the right one there. Yep, I do. All right, good. So all I'm doing, this is really, really simple. So I'm applying water into this little petal, and I'm just going to put my color in here and just kind of let it be free form a little bit. And also, because I went ahead and embossed the area, or not the area, but the stamped image, it also makes it easier for me to work right next to an area that I've just worked on, which from my previous watercolor class, you wouldn't, I told you not to do that. But it's okay to do it in this case because the color's not going to bleed beyond that embossed area. So let's see. I just want to very quickly get this color into here. I don't really care if it goes all the way to the edge or not. I still have a little bit on my brush. Get into those tiny, tiny little areas. Let's see. Then we're going to head up into here with some water. And this is all going to start to dry as I work up in here. You're going to see just how fast this can go. It's really, really nice. Because I'm doing this kind of free form effect, I'm not really worried about it being so perfect. So just let it move with the water that you put down. And this is going to be the first layer. You're going to see me put down a second layer after this one dries. There we go. Just dab some of that in there. Do you have something there, Alan?
No, I was just measuring the stamp.
Oh, okay.
So like 5.5 by 5.5.
For this stamp?
Yep.
Yes, I believe it is about 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch. You're going to notice that this is going to dry a little bit lighter. You know, and you could even leave it just like this. You don't have to go darker like I did. So you can just dab that in there a little bit, let it move with that water. A little bit in here. Pick up a little color. So you can see just, you know, off the bat, this is a much faster process than the way that I did it in my watercolor class. And it's because it's a little more of a free form kind of a look. Dab that in just a little bit. I'm going to come back down into here. Let me see. I'm going to make these, I'm guessing these might be some flower petals down here. And maybe a little bit along this edge. I've already got some pink on my brush. Let's see. Pick up a little here. These teeny tiny little areas, I'm not worried about putting the color, the water down first. All right, let me see if I've missed anything. Sometimes you just have to kind of take a little look. A little bit right in here. All right. So while that pink dries, go ahead and pull that up. While the pink dries, I'm going to go ahead and move to the first layer of the green. So the green again is olive green. Clean off my brush really well. And it's really, really easy right now to see where this is going to go, because I have already filled all the pink areas. Oops, I missed some in the center there. I can see. I'll get those in a moment. Just kind of dab that in a little bit, let it move in the water. Oh, got water there. There we go. Now, I just got a tiny little bit in an area that I don't want. So I dab it off with my my little towel. That's another reason why you have it, in case you get it where you don't want it. In case you get color where you don't want it. Just dot this in, let it move. It's wet. All right. Oops, looks like I pulled some pink in here. There we go. I'm actually going to get all three of these little areas right here together. Just get a little bit of color in. Let it move around. So much faster this way, isn't it? A lot of water on my brush, so that's kind of helping me move along a little bit faster. But not so much that it's going to pool, so you want to be careful of that too. You don't want the water to really pool real heavily. Got another spot over here. A little bit right there. Those little edges there, although I'm probably going to end up cutting these off. Oops, that was the wrong spot, wasn't it? That's going to be cut off anyway, but let's grab that out of there. That's all right. Okay, so clean that up. While that dries, I'm going to go back. Let me get rid of this. I don't need this here. I'm going to go back to the pink. I can see I missed a few areas in there with the pink, but I also want to get go like a second layer of the pink and let it get darker. How often do you paint over an area to get depth of color? I will do it 2 or 3 times. What you're seeing here is like 2 times. So I'm going to come in here with just some water in these 2 areas where I didn't have a lot of color. And just drop that in. There we go, a tiny little bit there. All right. So I'm going to remember those 2 little spots there because those are going to be the most wet in terms of the pink. So now I'm going to go in with a second layer of my pink. This is wet over in here from the green, so I'm going to come up and start over here. I'm going to put my water down, pick up some of that pink, and just kind of drop it in. And I'm going to try and stay a little bit closer to that veining in the center and let the water get lighter as it makes its way out from that veining. The water is going to move the color, and it's going to let that color kind of spread out. You may want to push it along a little bit, add a little more color if you feel like you need it. Some water down. Bring this out around that veining. Get my little towel over here. Pick up some of that because I don't like how dark that is. Okay, now I've got clear water. And color again, I'm going to come right down that veining and just move it kind of around that veining. If the color's not as dark as you want, then it's probably getting too watered down over here, and that's when I'm going to add some more. There we go. So that's just going to kind of richen up that color for me a bit. Soften this a bit right out here. Do you have any more questions for me, Alan?
No.
No? If you have any questions, please put them out there. Alan's going to be putting the questions up for me to answer. I know this can be a little mesmerizing, and that's why I sometimes stop talking when I'm painting. So I'm sorry about that. There we go. Dab that in, let that get really dark right into the base of it. And then it'll kind of move its way out with the water a bit. Get some more color in here. Clear water here. Soften that edge where that's really, really kind of a strong white there. Just let that water move that color. There we go. I love when you can just kind of see it disperse like that. It's so pretty. Some water and then color. It's getting a little bit lighter, so I'm going to add some more over here. There we go. You can see it pushing out. Now this one is where I got that little bit of green up in there, so I'm going to lay a little more pink up in that area there. There we go. I love watching that color just move through the water. I think it's so pretty. So we're getting a little bit light again with the colors. So I lay a little bit more down on my paper. See if I can smooth some of that edge out there. So pretty. I love this. All right. Now this looks a little more peachy than it does over here. I think it's going to change, get a little more pink as it dries. That's why it looks a little more pink in this area here. I think I missed a little bit over here because we did that last. Just want to hit that a little bit. Dab that in. That little bit as well. Remember, if you have any questions at all, please put them out there. Alan will get them to me. Let me just see. And get a little more depth of color in the centers of some of these. There we go. I see what I'm not thrilled with. I can see this really rough edge here that I'm not crazy about. So I'm just going to soften that with a little bit of color. All right. And I think we're done with the pink. Now I'm going to move to the green one more time. Make sure I get all that pink off my brush. And let's see, oops, I'm flinging water everywhere. Let's see. Gotta make sure where I can work right now. There we go. Let's come down in here because I know I didn't do any pink right in this area down here. Dab that in and let it move. Suzanne is saying, is it easier to watercolor large images? Not too large, but I do think so. I like having the freedom of the space with the larger images and just allowing the water to move around the color for me. When you have much smaller images, you have to control the color a little more yourself because you don't have that freedom of space just to lay down a lot of water. I don't think we need to zoom, Alan. I think we're actually pretty good, but thank you.
Someone wants to zoom at the end so they can see it close up.
Oh, well, maybe we should zoom a little bit.
No, I'm just asking.
Now, I am making sure that when I lay down the color, I'm bringing the color into the areas that are closer to where they're kind of tucked in or connected to something else. Because that's where the color is going to be the darkest. It's going to be that's where your shadow is going to be. And then as it extends out from underneath these flower petals and from other leaves, that's where the light's going to hit it more. And you're going to end up with like a brighter color to whether it's your flower or your leaf. There we go. I think we're about done with this one, with the green. So that's all there is to that. The next colors, here's what I did. I have these two, I have Almond and Blush. The Almond is a little bit lighter than the Blush. So I went in to these little, I don't know, what are these called in the middle? They look like little berries, but they're not. I went in there with the Almond and I just dabbed them in a little bit. Where'd my brush go? It's over here. And then I just kind of touched that with a little bit of water that I already have on the brush, just to kind of move that around. And then I grabbed Blush, which is a little bit darker, a little more yellow. and I pick that up and I'm literally dotting it on because I don't want to fill up the entire little circle. So I'm just dotting it on there just to get to deepen it, but it also leaves a little white space, not white space, but lighter space where that almond color is, like these tiny little highlights. And I like that. I think it's really pretty. All right, that's all there is to that. So you can see how quickly watercoloring can be and just how beautiful it can be. I need to let this dry. Alan, can I hand you this water to dispose of that for me before it ends up somewhere it shouldn't? All right, actually got some over here. So let me go ahead and put these things away. This has got to do a little bit of drying. You can see it kind of shining where it's still pretty wet. You can also see that black where I've embossed it, has a little bit of a shine to it. So I'm going to set that aside and let that kind of dry a little bit on its own. You don't want to start trimming that and playing with that while it's wet because the paper will just kind of tear and it just won't be nice. It'll be messy. Okay, so I've got my card base here. This is A2, like I said, 4¼ by 5½. I really liked the idea, by the way, of having this be my main background image. And I think it'd be really pretty if it were trimmed down and if it were framed by the black. So I cut the black to be exactly A2 sized. So I'm going to go ahead. This is one of those really quick and easy cards. So like all the work is really in the watercoloring. It's just in that painting. And once you get it painted, let me turn this over. All right, I'm turning it over. I want to tell you why. And I think I mentioned this before. Sometimes when you score and you fold, you end up with one side that's a little bit shorter than the other. And so right now, the way it is, the top is a little bit shorter than the underneath, and I don't like that. I like when you look at it and it looks very clean, a nice edge on it. So that's why I flip it over when I see that. Oh, shoot. Got water on it. Apparently, I have a mess here somewhere. There we go. It'll dry. It'll also be covered, right? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. Make sure I'm getting it on here straight. There we go. And then the next thing, I went ahead, let me show you what I did here. This is my Neenah Classic Crest. So this was my watercolor paper. I was stamping with my hybrid ink. And I could have done it on that, except it's on that watercolor paper if I wanted to, but frankly, that's a lot more expensive. And it's cold pressed, so it has that little bit of a bumpiness to it. So I wanted something smooth, but I also wanted a bright white. And if you look at the color difference, you can see that the watercolor paper, well, maybe you can't see it, but the watercolor paper is just ever so slightly off white. So I wanted a really, really bright white. So I grabbed my Neenah Classic Crest, which is what I use when I'm going to be coloring with Copics. And I actually just had a little scrap piece of paper like this. And I went ahead and I grabbed my Lipstick Jungle, which is it's a beautiful pinky red. And you can see just how gorgeous it is. I mean, it's such a perfect match with the watercolor, the pink that I chose in here, which is, that's the rose pink. It's an absolute perfect match. I just love it. It's so pretty. Now, with your hybrid inks, and for those of you that are not familiar with a hybrid ink, it's a combination ink. So you can use this. It's a combination ink, meaning it has the properties, of both a dye and a pigment ink. Okay, So that allows you to use it if you're watercoloring. So here I went ahead and I stamped it with the that water marker, and then I embossed it. But I could have stamped it in the Raven hybrid ink, and I could have embossed it with that as well, but I didn't. I wanted to use the watermark. But anyway, I could have done that and watercolored with it because it's a combination ink. I can also use Copic markers or any alcohol markers with this. I can stamp on fabrics, on glossy surfaces if I'm going to heat set it, and so on and so forth. So anyway, I grabbed this color and I stamped it. I stamped this particular sentiment, which I just love. I think the font in here is just gorgeous. It says, "Wishing you all the love this season." So I have no particular size to this. I stamped it and I just, whoa, as I'm throwing things around the table here. So I stamped it and I just trimmed it, and then I trimmed out a piece of black cardstock to fit behind it and just give it a really nice frame. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you. The reason I was mentioning this was you can emboss with it. Now, I don't know if you can emboss with every hybrid ink out there. I can't speak to it, but I know you can emboss with ours. So I stamped it with the Lipstick Jungle, and I used our clear embossing powder, and I don't know if you can see the shine or not. Can you? Let's see if I can get that to shine. A little bit, maybe. There you go. There it is. It is embossed. Isn't that pretty? So yes, the question came up, I think, on Tuesday. Can you emboss your hybrid inks? Yes, you can. You can use embossing powder. We have a clear embossing powder as well as a white embossing powder, but you can use any embossing powder. I just recommend that you have everything ready to go because it doesn't have the same extended dry time that, like the watermark, or an embossing ink is going to have. But it does have a little bit of an extended dry time because it's combination ink. So just, get your embossing powder on there, fairly quickly so that you don't have too much time, and you can emboss beautifully with all of the colors. Yay! So I just wanted to point that out. So I'm going to go ahead. We have a couple of questions. Is there a front and back to the colored cardstock? I don't think so, but these are two different blacks, I could tell you that. They're actually two different, this one is from scrap that I had. Maybe that's why you're asking, because they look different. This one is from scrap that I had, and this one is actually a little bit textured. And this one is just a smooth that I have, but it's not going to make any difference because you're not going to be able to see them. They're not going to be next to each other, so I don't care if it's off a little bit. Do you prefer, Andrea is saying, do you prefer the watercolor markers to pencils? Watercolor markers as opposed to watercolor pencils? I would say yes, absolutely. I do prefer the markers to watercolor pencils because I have worked with watercolor pencils, and I mean, did I just do that? I actually just did that, didn't I? I'm a goofball sometimes. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I put the tape on the wrong thing. I meant to put the tape on here. So,
oh, you got a new roll.
Yeah, I put it on the back, and if I lay this down, everything's going to stick to it, so I have to deal with it. So yes, I had to open up my new roll today, my big old honkin' new roll. So because I put the tape on the wrong side, I'm going to go ahead. If I lay this down, it's going to stick to everything, and so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my my foam on the back of it now rather than later, just so it's not an issue. And I didn't lay that down right, but that's okay. I save all my little scraps. Let's see, put that one on there. So Luann is saying, so you stamp with black, then clear emboss before painting. Yes, you can do that. Or if you want to stamp with black and then do a black emboss, I mean, however you want to do it. Yep. Yes, you can do that before painting. You don't have to. You don't have to emboss it. I wanted to emboss it because I wanted the black. I wanted that black to shine. That's the only reason. That's the only reason I did it. With our hybrid ink, you can just stamp it, let it dry, give it a I don't know, 3-4 minutes or so, and then you can start watercoloring with the with your watercolors once you've stamped in your hybrid ink. You do not have to emboss it in order to watercolor. It does not. It is not a water-based ink, the hybrid ink, so it is not going to. It's not going to move when you hit it with water. I just chose to do the embossing for my project because I wanted that shine. So, all right, so this is how this was supposed to happen. I put the tape on the back of here. Now I'm going to lay this on here. Hopefully get it centered. Not easy to center something when I have black on dark gray and I can't put my head over the top of it. All right, this feels pretty dry, a little bit cool. I don't want to cut into it too early because I don't want to mess it up. Let's see. So I need to trim this down to A2 sized, and actually a little bit shorter than A2. Ooh, you know what? I missed a little corner there. I'm going to have to fix that. But, so it's going to be a little bit shorter. I'm going to trim this to, instead of 5.5, I'm going to trim it to, actually, how much do I want to trim that? Maybe. That might be a little too thick. Yeah, I'm going to trim it to 5.25. See where we land. I'm going to have to, actually I'm going to be trimming off that side anyway, so I don't really have to worry about that. Let's see if I like that spacing. I think that's going to work. So let me just trim a teeny little bit off of this edge. So I have a clean edge. And then instead of 4.25, we're going to trim this, ooh, let me make sure. Yeah, we're going to trim it to 4 inches. Oy, oy, oy. I'm always afraid when I do this. Yep, okay. It's really scary, you know, you spend all the time on something and then you don't want to cut it wrong and ruin it. Look how pretty that is. And, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this flat down onto the black. And, you know, it is watercolor. It did have a lot of water on it, so it's not perfectly flat right now. It's, you know, it has a little bit of, not too much bend to it because this paper is so great, but you can see it's warped just a tiny, tiny little bit. Let's see. Let's lay this down. So I put that flat down. Beautiful. And then this has got some foam on it. So we get a little bit of lift, a little bit of dimension on the card. I'm going to put it just up a little bit so it's, I'm going to, you know what, I don't want to cover up all that yellow. I like having that yellow there. So I'm going to go just a little bit north of center. Make sure I am centered horizontally as well. I think that looks good. There you go. My card is done. So pretty, pretty, pretty. Gosh, I hope you guys like that. I like it. Tell me I did. I was afraid it wasn't going to open. I thought I did it the wrong way. I think my heart skipped a beat. I went to open it and nothing happened. So I think it's beautiful. I didn't want to do too much on the front because I want the star of the show to be that beautiful watercolor poinsettia in the background. I think it's so pretty. I think that really stands out. So I hope you like it. So who wants a sneak peek? Let's do a quick little sneak peek. Alan says we're out of time. Oh no. All right, so for those of you that are not aware, we do have a card kit we're going to be doing a bi-monthly card kit. And the first one is going to be coming in the next week or so. We're going to have it up for pre-order. Oh, quick question here. Mrs. Whitlock is saying, do your fonts have a certain name, or do you just see ones you like?
Can you just pick ones you like?
Yeah, but we do. Yes, I like to choose different fonts that appeal to my eye, that are, you know, maybe on trend or work with the season or the theme. But we do own the rights to the fonts, so that we have. So Terry is saying, will you be coming out with more full background stamps? Absolutely, we sure will. That is a guarantee, because this one is done so well, and I love it. Okay, so anyway, back to the kit. We have a kit that's coming out. I think it's going to be going up for pre-order in about a week. We are going to have very, very limited supply of them. But I was hoping to actually unveil it today, but I didn't get that far, so it will be next week. But I did want to give you guys a little sneak peek, just because I don't want to leave y'all hanging. So I thought I would show you the paper that's going to be in it. And we're going to start off with some cardstock that's going to be in it. Look at that cardstock. This is an actual, it's kind of a silvery gray, but not quite black, and it's got this gorgeous sheen to it, and I fell in love with it when I saw it. So you're going to see the color scheme as this comes together. This next one, you can see that pink. Oh boy, uh-oh. There we go. So this beautiful, beautiful pink. So gorgeous. This one does not shine. Next up is this gorgeous blue. Again, it has this absolutely stunning shimmer to it. I just think it's beautiful. Love it. These are 8.5 by 11, by the way, and you will get the full sheet in the kit. And then we have this beautiful kind of, it's not quite lavender, but it's not quite, it's not lavender. It's not, it's kind of a bluish purple, but it has a little bit of a gray. And I selected it these very, very carefully because of how they look with, uh-oh, where'd the color go? There we go. I don't know what this is doing. What's the camera doing?
You have to come down so we can focus.
Yeah. So I selected the colors of the cardstock to go with these beautiful, let me start up here with it, patterned papers that are going to be in this kit as well. So pretty. I love these. This one kind of tips you off that there's going to be a little animal in the kit. Yeah. And then look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I hope you guys like these, because I think they're absolutely stunning. Love these. Love the color combinations. Let me pull this down so you can see that color combination a little bit better. So pretty. So this is a little sneak peek of what we're going to have in the kit. There's a lot more to it, I assure you. But I hope you like it. I think these are just beautiful. I'm a really, really huge fan of pattern paper and having gorgeous cardstock that coordinates with it. So we are we're working on getting some project samples and stuff for you guys, and I will be unveiling all of this to you shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera. Hey there! So here is my card. Oh, you can see the green screen behind. It's just so weird. Like, you look right, like anywhere you see green, you're going to look right through it. So you can see log cabin through it. I think it just cracks me up. It's funny, but anyway. So I love the card. Oh, this was fun. So I'm actually relaxed. See, this is what happens when I watercolor. When I watercolor, I get very, very relaxed, and it's just really good for my soul. It makes me feel good, and I enjoy sharing it with you guys. I hope you guys found it relaxing and maybe entertaining, and maybe learned something. I don't know. Maybe you're just sitting and crafting on your own, because it is a craft along, so that's cool too. Oh, and I wanted to say too, Bunny, if you're out there. I do have your email. I have not had a moment to respond to everything that you wrote, so I didn't want you to think I didn't get it or that I didn't care. I just want to make sure I take the time to respond to everything, so I will be getting a response to you shortly. So, we've got a giveaway we need to do.
Yes.
All right. This is the one. We're giving away a gorgeous, oh, I want to say 6x6, but it's actually about 5.5 square. The poinsettia stamp, and it's going to Trina Mayle, 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 Trina Mayle, Mayle.
I would say
Mayle, Trina, congratulations! As I mutilate your name.
we need phonetic spelling.
Yes, phonetic spelling would be good. So Trina, to claim your prize, all I need you to do is send us an email to customerservice@ldrscreative.com, and we will get your very own brand new poinsettia stamp out to you right away. Yay! All right, everybody, it is that time. It's time to go. We need like an end song.
Yes.
I was gonna come up with
Mr. Rogers.
How does that go?
I don't know.
He says, yeah, I'm like Mr. Rogers. I'm like, how does that go? I don't know.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor? Yeah, I think. Anyway, so we could do so long, farewell. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know German.
What was that? Oh, Sound of Music?
Yeah, Sound of Music. Anyway, we're just going to have our own conversation here while you guys are sitting there trying to say goodbye. All right, so if anybody wants to write us a goodbye tune, that would be fun. Until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We will be back here on Tuesday, and hopefully I can get it together and actually unveil the kit on Tuesday. We'll see.
Well, is that next year? Next month? Or what?
No, but here's the thing. I will unveil it next week. I can almost guarantee it. It's like I'm talking to my 16-year-old son. I don't want to completely make the promise just in case I have to fall back on it, because then I don't want anybody to say I lied. But I will do my best to unveil it next week, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be good. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. right here. Maybe I don't know where we're going to be next time, but it'll be fun. Anyway.